Well, having spent a couple of years getting my feet under the desk as the CEO, one thing I was very conscious of was access to a conversation with customers. And our view is that social media now affords a business, particularly a consumer-facing business, the opportunity to engage more directly with customers. For me personally, it's like walking the shop floor. It's the digital equivalent. So it allows me to engage directly, offer my views to customers around technology, around our industry, but also around giving them a little bit of a flavor of who I am. So I think it's an important part of who we are as a company. My personal view is that people do business with brands and companies they trust, and most people's trust in a company is defined by the people they engage with. So we are ambassadors of the brand, and therefore I was keen that people would understand who I was, but I think you have to do it in a natural and authentic way. The truth is, when I tweet personally, it's usually about sport, which happens to be one of my passions, but it also is relevant because we happen to be the sponsor of the England rugby team, and we've previously been sponsors of Arsenal. So there's a relevance in that we have a lot of our customers who are interested in sport, and I happen to be passionate about sport. So I think if it's authentic and it's relevant, contextually relevant, then I think giving the customer the opportunity to have a little bit of a flavor of the individual, I think can only be a positive. I think it's really important to understand that any communications channel you use is not just to the customer, to the targeted segment, but actually employees are a key consideration. Whenever I'm on radio or television, in the newspapers, or on a social channel, I guarantee you that a significant proportion of the people who watch or read that are my employees. And that means that they can also see the boss more often than they might otherwise do. You know, whenever I'm on a high street, I go and visit the retail store, but I haven't visited all 480 stores, but I've had social engagement with probably every retail store in the country. Well, I'd start by really crystallizing my style of leadership. The day I was appointed CEO, I stood up in front of 600 colleagues in a town hall and described my role as to be chief cheerleader and chief storyteller on behalf of the organization, and that my commitment to them was to try to make each one of them the success they deserve to be. So in that context, communication is a huge portion of how I execute that responsibility. I am hugely proud of our organization, and therefore I am a cheerleader and take every opportunity I can to talk about our business and the things that we're doing. But it's not about our marketing and advertising. It's about our corporate and social responsibility, our attitude to sustainability, representing the company on the call on COP, for example, to talk to leaders about what our views are about a sustainable future. I think if we do that, what you realize is that communications is not a separate element of the job. It's an integral part of me showing leadership, which is ultimately what the job of a CEO is. I love the fact that as a consumer-facing business, we have real engagement. And so, yes, I get lots of emails from customers, those who are complaining and also those who are praising. And I also get feedback through Twitter and through LinkedIn. And I think that's really important because it allows me to do two things. One, directly understand how customers are feeling, but also it's a fabulous cross-check between what I'm being told in the internal channel and the perspective that's been given from an external channel. And I think an important role for a leader is to bring the outside in whatever business you're in, whether it's B2B or B2C. So that opportunity to spend time outside, some people might do it by going and visiting their factories or going to conferences. Part of my time outside is my time on those social channels. Well, I think when you have a moment of crisis like that, you don't create a culture in that moment. You discover what the real culture of the business is. And what I was pleased in an odd way to see was that when we had a problem, we were able to use the channels that we were traditionally using, live communications channels, be they social or live television, to talk directly to our customers and to engage with them. And what they saw through the people who were engaging on social and through me going on live television were representatives of the business they believed that they were partnering with. So they had the confidence that we were addressing their needs, we were talking directly to them and to employees. And actually they responded very positively to our honesty and authenticity in a moment of crisis. So in an odd sort of a way, it proved the veracity of our communication strategy. First question is it relevant to my customers? And I think there's more reason, I think, in a B2C business than sometimes in a B2B. But I don't think all B2B businesses should be silent in social channels. And then the second thing I think is it real? And if you as a CEO aren't comfortable in that environment, I really don't think you should be persuaded by your comms director to do something that's not delivering your best you. I happen to be a natural storyteller. That's what I want to do, and hugely proud of the business we're in. So it's natural for me to want to talk about the power of technology, the potential from a corporate social responsibility of harnessing young digital talent, many of the subjects that I tweet on or go on LinkedIn and talk about. So for me, it's a natural extension of who I am. And I think every leader should ask themselves that. Is it relevant to the customers, and is it a natural extension of who you are? And if the answer to both of those is yes, then do get out there, embrace it. That old expression that no publicity is bad publicity. I think there's a conversation going on out there anyway. And the question that you have to ask yourself is, do you want to impose yourself into the conversation? And if it's relevant and credible, then I would say, yes, impose yourself in the conversation, even in the days that you're having a problem. Going on live TV and apologizing to 7.9 million customers is not something I'm proud of, but was it the right thing to do? It absolutely was. So I think, as I say, just remember the conversation's going to happen anyway. You have to ask yourself, do you want to be part of it? I think this new generation of consumers, millennials or screen agers as they're sometimes described, expect to engage. And in that context, I think some of the things that we do as a business, they're actually not our core products and services, but millennials want to hold us to account for who we are as a business. What is our attitude to the society in which we work and live? What is our view on the big agenda items of the day? And I think in that context, social is an ideal channel to be able to demonstrate that you have a view in those areas. And ultimately, as I said before, people do business with brands that they trust, and they want to know about what the business stands for. So I think using channels like social allows you to address a genuine interest and concern of an actual or potential customer. I would encourage CEOs to really think about how they can engage in the relevant conversations that are going on around their industry, around the responsibilities of the private or public sector or whatever part of society they represent. And if they have something valuable to add, I would actively encourage them to participate.